Loud. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. Thanks so much, Megan, for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So excited for this conversation.
I'm sure it's going to be great, and we've already had our preamble talk, but can you share with our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your line of work?
Yeah, so my name is Megan, and I teach you how to travel and vacation for free using credit card points. I was the typical family that we struggled to just pay for one vacation a year. And going on vacations is something I love, but it was always stressful booking the cheapest hotel and the cheapest flights. And so I just really wanted something more. So I discovered credit card points. And now we get to travel 6 times a year and save over $20,000 doing it. And so I decided to share that with everybody else. So now I teach other people how to do the same so they can live a very abundant life.
That's so cool. I actually haven't asked you about the figures and what you've been able to achieve. So thanks so much for sharing that with us. I'm very curious. And when this episode's coming out, we'll probably, hopefully, be heading into spring. Finally, it's actually snowing here
Yes.
today. So it's like so cold. But can you tell us a little bit more about like what sparked this interest and how you were able to put it in action? I know a lot of people are fearful of credit cards just because it can become kind of that abyss, of debt.
Yeah.
So do you help your clients also manage that side of it?
Yeah, so I recommend everybody starts out with just sitting down and figuring out what your family's monthly budget is because you want to stick to that. We're using this to buy our everyday things, gas, groceries. You're simply just making a switch from a debit card to a strategic credit card for your daily expenses. And then we're paying that card off in full every single month. So being very responsible, no credit card debt, no late fees, no interest, nothing like that. It's just making that simple switch, but definitely you wanna be able to stay within your budget and not use that card to buy something that you wouldn't normally pay for your family, because if you're spending extra on the card just to get the points, then it's really not a free vacation.
Yeah, right. And I know that that can be a slippery slope. So I'm
Yes.
glad that you focus on, the no interest and helping your clients achieve that. Now, are there certain credit cards that you recommend, or is that more of like a client basis or things like that?
Yeah, so there's tons of cards out there. There's 4 major banks that have the travel points. It's gonna be Capital One, American Express, Citi, and, now I'm blanking, Chase. And so it does depend on like maybe where you want to go and your family's lifestyle, but there is one card I recommend everyone start with. It's the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. It's a great flexible point card. It's only a $95 annual fee. And so it's a really good card for you to start with. And so I really recommend everyone starts there. And then after that, the cards will depend on kind of what your individual travel goals are.
Oh, okay, I love it. One of my best friends actually works for Chase. Shout out
Oh,
Tom.
nice.
Maybe he'll listen to this episode. He'll love that. I actually have Capital One, and that's just because I got like the free business banking through Capital
Good.
One, which is helpful for traveling with my company. We do take travels like across the US right now. Um, but can you share with us what this actually looks like behind the scenes for our listeners that maybe haven't used this type of dashboard? Do you still get like protection with your flights or if you have to cancel, those types of things?
Yeah, there are so many perks that come along with these credit cards that the banks don't tell you about because they are just hoping you're not going to use those points and those protections. So, like for example, this Chase Sapphire Preferred card, it will protect you if like your baggage gets delayed, if your flight gets canceled, like all of these different protections. There's cards that have no transaction fees. So if you're traveling internationally, like there's so many different credits that you can use to your advantage when traveling. So those are really great to do. And the points is really, it's a simple process. It's just like you would book a flight on Southwest Airlines or Delta. It's just when you search for those flights, you literally just check a box that says miles or points instead of cash and looking it up. And that's why I like these flexible point cards like Chase because they allow you to transfer your points out to different airlines and hotel partners. And so you're getting so much more value by booking directly with the airline or the hotel versus using like Chase's travel portal or something like that. And so it's a really good way to turn like $700 worth of points into $2,000 or $3,000 worth of points. So you can really maximize and go on more vacations.
That's a really significant increase. Like
Yeah,
even
it's
just
amazing.
$20, like makes an impact when you're booking a
Yeah.
flight for sure.
Yeah, you can save thousands of dollars on every vacation just by utilizing these credit card points.
That is so crazy. Can you tell us like where you help your clients go and what experiences they have? I think for some of us that haven't traveled a lot, maybe out of
Mm,
financial concern and just starting businesses, it's not always in the cards in those
yeah,
early years, even though it should be, right? We all need a
yeah.
break. So can you tell us like about some of those immersive experiences and maybe even some of your own too?
Yeah, and this is exactly why I started because, like you said, travel just isn't something that people think is attainable for them. My husband didn't fly for the first time until he was 18, and it was to go into the Marine Corps. And so, like, we wanted something totally different. We have a 2.5-year-old, and we want something totally different for her life. So now she's been on like 6 round trip flights and flown first class and like all these things. So it's done so much for us. Um, but yeah, the great thing about this is it's completely dependent on you and your family's travel goals. So whether you're wanting to just take one family vacation every single year, or you're like me and you want to go 6 times a year, whether you love staying in Airbnbs or going on a cruise, like you can use the points for all different things. I have a client who's literally on a cruise ship right now, and she was able to pay for $2,000 worth of her cruise with points. She was able to stay in hotels and get her flights down to Florida where she was taking it for almost free. We've been able to fly first class to Mexico, stay in all inclusives for $0. I've had clients fly first class to Italy, like sipping champagne in first class for $10. It really is totally up to wherever you want to go, whatever country. There's really no limits with it. And the great thing is that when you stay in hotels, it's almost always $0. And then when you fly, you're just paying the taxes and fees on the airlines. So that'll depend. It can be anywhere from like $10 to $500, depending on where you're going. But it really opens up like the whole world to you.
The first class has me literally sold. I'm like, such a dream,
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
never had the pleasure of doing that, but a lot of my family members have, and my cousins, and they say it's like the only way they'll fly now.
Yeah. And that's like the crazy thing about this. Like, I got into this just to like travel a little bit more. Like, I didn't realize that my travel experiences, like luxury wise, were going to also elevate because it allows you to fly first class and stay in 5-star resorts and do all these things that I would have never been able to afford to otherwise. And yeah, once you sent first class, you can't go back.
Totally. My stepdad says that too. He's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
A whole different hoorah. I still love traveling coach because honestly,
Yeah.
that's been only my experience, but it is
Mhm.
tricky. So to have some
Yeah.
more leg room would be awesome,
Yeah.
especially to
And
Italy, right? Because
right?
that's
Yeah,
fun.
and those flights to like Italy and London that my clients have taken, a cash rate on that's $5,000 a person, which is outrageous. So to get that for $10 is a steal.
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you tell us like how much monthly expenses do we need to have? For example, if our listeners are single, and maybe
Mhm.
they're not purchasing, groceries for 3 family members. Are they
Yeah.
still able to get points as well?
Yeah, that's the great thing about this because there are so many travel credit cards with the different banks. There's something for everybody. And so the whole point of this is accumulating a large chunk of points when you first open up a card. It's called a sign up bonus. And so it is large chunk of points when you spend a certain amount of money in the first usually 3 months that you open the card. So it can be anywhere from 4,000, 5,000, $6,000 in the first 3 months. There's some that are one purchase and you get that large sign up bonus. There's some that are only $1,000. So there's all these different ranges to allow you to fit in your budget, which is why I recommend sitting with your budget because if your family spends, let's say, $2,000 a month, and the sign up bonus on this card is 10,000 in 3 months, you know that that's outside your budget. So you're not going to open up that card. So sticking with that and then finding the cards that meet you. I have clients who are single moms who live with their parents and don't have much expenses. I have college students. I have full families. So like whatever your budget is, I promise that there's a card multiple cards that will fit your budget and allow you to travel.
That's so good to know. And now, can you tell us, like mentioning your clients, how do you work with your clients? What does this experience look like? What can we expect from working with someone like yourself?
Yeah, so my signature program is the Travel Points Academy. It will teach you everything you need to know from signing up for your first credit card to booking your first vacation. My clients usually, when signing up, will take their first free vacation within 3 months of going through the academy. So it's a pretty quick turnaround on going somewhere. And it's such an amazing community. We all help each other. We get on monthly calls and actually like help you plan your next vacation and walk you through the academy. So that's a great way to start and start learning the world of points.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like such a fun community to get to see
Yes.
like where everyone else is going to. So I love that. Now, my other question kind of brings us back to debt. And honestly, I'm just curious, will you take on a client if they have a large amount of credit card debt already? Or is that something that they should work on prior to coming to work with you?
Yeah, I have some students that do have some previous credit card debt. The biggest thing is your credit score. If you have a really bad credit score, then you're not going to get approved for a lot of these travel credit cards. So I'll recommend a starter card to get to like build your credit and then come back to me when your credit score is higher. If you have credit card debt, I just recommend that you have a plan to start working on paying that off and that you're working on that while getting these credit card points. But if you're someone who can't manage that debt or has a bad credit score, then yeah, you wouldn't be a good fit until you get that situated.
Perfect. And it sounds like you may have some resources if our listeners are in that, position
Mhm.
where you would be able to help them. I just know when it comes to starting a business, a lot of us may be in debt at the beginning,
Yeah.
just to get the funding up, or you get loans and then you have to pay it
Mhm.
back, and it can be overwhelming. But I do love what you offer, because at the same time, they may still be getting these points and should
Yeah.
using them to,
Yeah.
enjoy, even if it's just a weekend, if you can't do a full week,
Mhm.
now.
Yeah. You can have staycations. Like you can do whatever you want with your points. If you just want to go see your family more often, like there's so much possibility. But if you're already spending the money on your gas and your groceries and those things, you might as well let your money make money for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. I love it. It's like a perfect mentality about more abundance and just calling it in.
Mhm.
That's really my goal for this year as well. And being able to receive some of what we've put so much time and effort into. It's so hard as a CEO to really let yourself relish, in
Yes.
like what you've done for you and your family. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing some of your stories. Is there anything else? I feel like you covered all my questions in like such a brief time here. But is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners? Like, just that you maybe hear a lot of questions from inside your community or things like that?
Yeah, I would just say since we've been talking about business quite a bit, like there's so much possibility if you do own your own business because there's a whole other realm of business credit cards aside from personal credit cards. And so you can be earning personal credit points while having business credit points building up and putting those together. And that can just open up like so many more points for you to travel. And then just addressing credit scores again, that's always everyone's concern. Like, isn't this going to tank my credit score if I'm opening up multiple credit cards? And I'm here to tell you, I have over 13 credit cards in my wallet and I have an 800 plus credit score. So when you do this correctly and you're paying it off in full every single month, it will actually increase your credit score significantly.
Oh, almost like you found all of the loopholes to this
Yeah.
system. I love it. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yep. So that's everything. I just encourage you to get your first credit card open. Like you can do it today. It takes 5 minutes to fill out an application and just start earning those points on your everyday spending.
I love it. Thank you so much, Megan. This has been so great. I definitely learned something. As a final, hurrah for our episode, how can people get in touch with you, join your community? Of course, we'll have all of your URLs linked below as well. But if there's any other details, if they have follow-up questions or things like that.
Yeah, my DMs are always open. You can message me over on Instagram at Points to Paradise. I also have a podcast, Points to Paradise, where I give out lots of free tips on travel, and be sure to grab my free Travel Points 101 guide here in the show notes. It will walk you through everything to get started today.
Cool. Thanks so much, Megan. Well, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.